fix it in post.
All right. Welcome to the Action Shooting Show. I'm going to start off with something we always forget to do, but please, if you can, if you like the show, like and subscribe to it. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Feel free to email us or contact us on whatever social media if you got questions, if you want us to do a show on something or talk about something or whatever it is, piece of gear, a match, certain topic, we'd love to help you out. So now that we got all that stuff out of the way, we have been a little remiss on some of these. We're behind on some match after actions, but we are going to do Zombie, the Run for Your Life Zombie Run and Gun. So we have Tiger here. We're just talking. I don't usually like to get the match director on when we're talking about their match. Not that we say anything on the show that we wouldn't say to their face, but it is a little bit easier to talk freely when they're not on here. But we have talked to Tiger. We talk shit to him all the time. So there's really nothing that we can say that will offend him. Marine's gonna Marine, so I'm sure he's heard far worse.
Yeah, today.
Well, yeah. So, to get everyone started, the is it the full thing? The Run for Your Life?
Yeah,
Zombie Run and Gun.
Zombie Run and Gun. Yeah, the last Run for Your Life Zombie Run and Gun.
Spoiler alert.
We'll see.
After many years of this, Tiger has announced that he will not be doing this next year. Will there be other matches in Tiger's future? We have a feeling there probably will, but Zombie as it's happening is no more.
If we if we get enough like and subscribes, we can bully him into this. Let's not put anything off the table.
We don't have a Patreon, but if you find a way to give us money, we will get a match going.
If you put a GoFundMe together or a Kickstarter and you can raise $15,000, I will do Zombie in 2024.
There we go. I'd like to get a GoFundMe or a Patreon just to buy some editing software so I don't have to, so we can actually have a little video quality on this show.
That a stretch goal. $16,000.
I'd say 1,500 with a case of beer. We'd be real close there.
Oh, so I'll throw in whatever Wisconsin beer you want. All right. So the format of this, typically in the past, it's been a 10K, which it was this year, and the last couple years, it's been a team match, which is awesome. Everybody loves team matches. This is my fourth or fifth. I think I did 4 or 5 team matches this year. Love team matches. So this year they had a 10K, they had a 15K, and we're going to talk about it. So as far as the flavor of it, it's Lucas Oil Ranch out in Cross Timbers, Missouri. Beautiful. If you've never been out there, beautiful piece of property. There are rolling hills. There are cattle and cows and longhorns, and it is the cleanest farm ranch you've ever been on.
What do we figure? It's like 35 square miles of timber and hills and meadows and ranch, and it's enormous.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. It's rugged at times. It's the courses. We'll talk about it. The course is not a walk in the park.
Yeah, the side that they opened up for us is about half of the immediate lodge property, which comes out to like 3,500 acres, which is half of that one parcel. The whole ranch itself is something like 25 or 26,000 acres. They own most of the county. Like the county that it's in, they own most of it.
Now, for those, if you say Lucas, it's Lucas Oil. It's the car oils, but they have outdoor line. We've actually here it's on the bench. I've got my Lucas Extreme Gun Oil. I am not a shill for any one gun oil, but this stuff works. If you don't have an oil that you're using, actually I think they sell it even at some auto parts stores. Yeah, like I've picked it up inside O'Reilly's and stuff. So ball applicator on the end is actually kind of nice. Even if I'm generally using another oil or something in a gun for whatever application, I keep one of these around just because it's kind of easy to apply. So give them some love because they've been nice enough to open up that ranch to us the last couple years and other events as well. I've borrowed other matches out there.
Oh yeah, they're big in 3-gun. They're always at 3-gun major matches. They're always giving stuff away. So definitely support them. And
this match raised money for Protect the Harvest, correct?
Yeah, and Protect the Harvest is it's the Lucas Oil charity. I always describe it as it's what the NRA should be, only for farmers, ranchers, and conservationists. Fun fact, the government actually has labeled it an extremist organization. So, that you're doing something right.
More reason to like it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If you think, well, I don't know any farmers, ranchers, or yada, yada. Well, if you eat food, you should probably want what is best for farmers, ranchers, and the people involved in that, because
hunting regulations are involved. Like, if it's outdoors and food related, they're involved, and it's a really good organization. They primarily are informational, and then they have like NRA does. They have a legislative branch that goes and lobbies, and a litigation branch where if a farmer is dealing with the government overreach that's too much, they will help provide some counsel and do some stuff. So, great organization. Highly recommend you check them out, because, like you said, if you eat, you've probably benefited.
Yeah. Government overreach. That's hard to believe. That must not happen often. So,
never.
That's kind of the flavor. The match is a run and gun. I know Tiger kind of designs this as a straightforward running gun. There's not a bunch of physical things. There's no crazy obstacles. There's a little bit of physicality, because that's the flavor of run and gun. But this is not CrossFit with guns. This is not like an obstacle course race. The terrain is the obstacle. The shooting stages and the shooting challenges are the challenge. We'll get into it. The shooting challenges, Tiger set the bar awfully high this year. So some of the setup people, which we thank all them, because they were out there. Some of them were out there a week before, days before setting it up. They shot the day before the rest of the ROs. And from what I was hearing, it was like struggle bus. I RO'd all of Friday for the ROs on the long range stage. And I actually called Tiger at one point, and I was like, hey, like, I'm hearing this is a tough match. Like, there is a lot of DNFs from everyone that's coming through. Because I was like more towards the end. And Tiger's like, well, it sounds like my ROs can't shoot anymore. And I said, well, it sounds like your setup crew can't shoot anymore either, because it doesn't sound like anyone's having much luck. And as the weekend went on, we found that they were every stage was doable. It's not like there was one stage no one completed. At least one stage almost nobody completed. I think there was 2 that had like three that had so things were doable, but it was tough. The shooting was really, really challenging, and that's good. It's not a bad thing. In retrospect, and I don't know, well, I guess in retrospect, Tiger, would you have, knowing what you know now, would you have reined some things or maybe changed something, target presentations, challenges, a little bit, at least on the stages that are like
impossible is the word you're looking for. Impossible.
The only one that I would have changed anything on would be the zombies from the 2.
Yeah. That would be the biggest one. I would say. I was like, this is really
but honestly, the shot that I thought everyone was going to struggle with is not the shot that they struggle with. That 400-yard target is not the shot people were struggling with. The shot people were struggling with, like,
we lost you, Tiger.
You're breaking up. Well, Tiger's breaking up. Let's start at the beginning of this race, and then hopefully he's able to jump. Oh, you're back?
Yeah.
Okay, you froze up. Hey, let's talk about that when we get to it, and we'll just start at the beginning of the match here. But
yeah,
I was just curious. I thought most of them, like there were some that people failed on that it was a pretty reasonable stage. It was just kind of tough. But then there was one or two stages. It's like, yeah, you could probably rein this back in, get a little bit more completion, and people would still have fun.
Yeah. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. So, this was kind of neat. So we started off at the starting line. Was it? I think it was on your runtime, right? Stage 0.
Stage 0. And that stage worked precisely how I hoped it would. Like, just check your 0.
Yeah. So you started. They said, okay, your team's gonna go, and each shooter had as much time as you wanted because it's on your runtime. But you had 2 shots to hit a 6-inch plate at what was originally going to be 100 yards because of layout and stuff. It was 50 yards, and it's basically is your gun even 0 to shoot this match? Because I'll be honest, with the other targets, if you couldn't hit that 6-inch plate at 50 yards, you were going to have a really, really bad day.
We had some people who missed. We had some people who
I believe it. And maybe that was enough to figure out, if you had someone spot for you, kind of see where maybe you could get yourself figure it out. But if you couldn't hit a 6-inch plate at 50 yards, it was going to be a bad day for you.
Now, Tiger did promise us that we would have a table and a bench and we'd be very set. And when we got there was a rock and a log maybe, which is fine. You could get in position. You could lay down if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But it really was a gut check where it was like, all right, it's 50 yards. It's 6 inches. Come on, let's do this. My team, we both missed the first shot, and we really were like, okay,
pressure's on.
Like get set and make our second shot. So we made it. Like Tiger said, only a handful didn't make it. So everyone could do it, but it was a gut check. It was like, is this how we're going to start our match? And so
I heard a lot of people hit it on the second shot.
Yeah.
Because they kind of blew off the first one.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's real quick. Mark, you did this with your wife. This is a third year you've done this? Third year.
Yep.
I've done it with my wife in the past. Then we missed a year. She wasn't able to make it this year. I picked up the wonderful Tim Cox, who is a phenomenal shooter and absolutely drug me through this match and even carried my rifle for a little bit of it, because I cramped up something fierce towards the end. So me and my partner, we went 1 for 1. We got a good shot. It's on your runtime. Here's a tip for you guys. If there's things you're doing on your runtime, you guys, and they're important, the 20 seconds it takes to get a good shot on your runtime and just hit that and not miss a shot is like something like that is well worth it.
Right. We're talking honestly, 20 seconds on 2 hours. You have to think 3 hours 15, or whatever,
3 or 4 hours if you're doing the 15K.
Right, but that's the point you have to think about. What's 20 seconds on 3 hours? It's even a full minute to get laid down, put out your bipod, and hit that shot. Not a big deal.
Now, realistically, if it wasn't a match, like I wasn't going to do this in a match, that's I could offhand shot that all day long. But like we're saying, in this case, okay, I go prone or I kneel or something, and I get a little bit of extra rest and I break the shot. I'm going to take that because I've got the ability. But if Tiger would have said, oh, yeah, you guys got to do that offhand, it was, if you got a zeroed rifle and you're a decent rifleman, it's a chip shot. It's really.
Yeah, and that was the point. I honestly wanted to give everyone a chance at a solid success, but also with the opportunity where if you didn't hit it, that's a mind game at that point.
Yeah.
Because you're like, man, this was it. And Ellis talked about it because he's one who missed it.
He missed both of them?
he missed, and his he talked about it after the match. His can, he's got a ratchet system to attach his can.
Yep.
And
He's got enough.
Yeah, and it had backed off 2 clicks compared to what it normally was. Like whenever he got to the end of his match, he was able to click it 2 clicks, and he's like, maybe that's what it was, maybe not. Like, he didn't know.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've got the same. We both shoot the Dominus SR, and really, once you tighten it on there and it's hand tight, and you turn that lock collar, it's pretty much there. But I guess maybe if it felt a little resistance and you stopped early, and
he flew with it, there's a whole like there, what
a little bit of carbon.
Shit happens.
Absolutely. I put choke tube grease on mine because that kind of prevents the carbon from locking things up. But all right. Really neat stage, way to hopefully get you started off with some confidence, which you're going to need because you ran 50 yards down the road and you had 2 rifles. So both of your partners shooting rifle.
I RO'd this one. I'll give you this one.
But yeah, please.
So I RO'd this one. It was a stack of targets that were pretty small, maybe 3 inches, 2 inches at the smallest, up to 4 inches, and they were color coded. And the way it worked was one teammate shot a color that determined the position that the other shooter would use. And so if you shot red, your partner shot from the red port. And if they shot yellow, you shot from the yellow port. And then what that meant was there was a barricade, and in that barricade, once you got in your position, you had to flip an MGM spinner at about 80 yards, I'd say. Ish. You're muted, Tiger.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
He double muted himself. There you
go. 80 yards ish, and it was innovative targets, tornado, whatever.
Sure, teeter-totter. Just think of it as a teeter-totter. 2 plates, and you have to flip it.
It's a nice target. It was a really nice target that they sent.
And so people struggled just to get their little colors, just to pick their colors of where they were going to go. And then once they got that, then it's a team match. It's like one up top, one on the bottom, like get it rocking until it flips. And the biggest thing, we saw 2 things as an RO. One, do people have any sort of teamwork at you shoot, I shoot? And then number 2, was the people that brought the big guns for the long range later had a lot better chance than the guys just doing 223 trying to get it rocking. And Ryan will tell you, we've used MGM spinners on 3-gun stages, and it's not impossible. It's about 10 shots to get it to flip with 223. But
and that's single plate. You can go top, you can go bottom. You could spin the thing just going bottom, 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 bottom. It's slower, but yeah, you can do it. As Mark's saying, you don't need a 6.5 Creedmoor 308 to spin that thing.
Right.
Actually, this year the surprise was Ben Wolf shooting a 300 Win Mag. Has spun a spinner in the past in a single shot.
Yeah.
This year it took him 3 because the first 2 went through and through on the steel plate.
And they were grouped. They were about this far apart from each other. It was a perfect hole, and then he connected and got to spin.
Yeah, like, it's not dumping a whole lot of energy if you're going through the plate, man.
that 300 Win Mag on the long range stage, the first target he hit, 3, because Tiger on the very far one had 4 different flashers.
Yeah. And
he hit that, and I saw 3 flashers fly off like all at one time. It's like, all right, well, he hit it. So, yeah.
But most people got the spinner. Most people got it. A handful of people couldn't. And so it was totally a doable stage. It wasn't, the majority got it. Over half got it.
Yeah. The problem with spinners is it's timing. It's getting your hit and timing. And I've seen more people than I can count get off the timing. And so that plate's coming at them, and then they hit it, and that spinner just stops and stands still right where it's at. And you're starting over. I mean, which is if you've gone through 20 rounds to get that thing all, really close, and then you just stop it dead, like that's a sickening feeling. And I've been there, especially in a team match, actually.
Right.
At a 308 partner stop it.
We saw some people that did countdowns where there was one guy watching the spin, and you'd say 3, 2, 1, and they both shoot at 1, and 3, 2, 1, and they did it like that. We had other teams that they just pop, 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 and it was over. There was a lot of different things. It was fun to kind of watch what people did to get it to spin, but it wasn't impossible. And going back to the big thing, I did it with my 6.5 Creedmoor, just myself, in like 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah.
So just a bigger round.
I think I took 4, maybe 5. I kind of screwed my partner and accidentally shot the wrong one and gave him like the worst barricade port. He really couldn't get stable. And then he's got a big 6.5 pounding off. So I don't think he got a single shot off, but the 6.5 it's got the energy to get it done.
Right.
Now, for the record, the fastest for teams, if both of you guys can like hit the same plate at the same time and just keep switching back and forth on that's the fastest. If 2 people like double the bottom and then double the top and then double the bottom or something I would guess with a 5.56 with like good center mass hits, that thing would go over.
Yeah.
But
sure.
the fast, safe one is 1 top, 1 bottom, and just get your timing right. And again, you'd get it over almost as fast, but it'd be a little bit safer because you're not taking the chance of missing in the transition.
Right.
One other thing I want to mention though, that barricade wasn't super stable. So it was an interesting thing to watch where people would shoot and wiggle it. And the second shot, like they'd be thinking, wop, wop, they'd do a shot and it'd be like shot and then miss, shot, miss. Where that second guy would be, he'd be dipping or whatever. And so just understanding 2 people sharing a barricade, it's a whole different game than almost nobody practices. Who would ever get that experience? So.
And that's why Tim didn't shoot, because he didn't feel like he was stable enough, because it kept, every time the 6.5 went off, it rocked it. And
so
by the time he got, exactly. So, good stage. It was fun. So there you kind of headed back towards the start, up around a little bit, and then was stage 2 Juggernaut.
Yeah.
This is one, if you were to ask my opinion after shooting it, you could have taken the design of the stage, scaled some stuff back a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
Half? Cut it in half?
So what it was, you had a target at, so this is all pistol, at 100, and then 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, down to 20.
Yeah, and then a dueling tree at 10.
And a dueling tree at 10. So the first person shot 1 target, 1 hit on the 100-yard. The second was 2 at 90, then 3 at 80, 4 it's down to 10 at the last distance. And then you each shot a plate on the dueling tree back and forth. So your partner flipped it one way, you flipped it back the other.
Yeah. Either partner could flip it both directions. It had to flip both ways.
Oh, okay. I think we misunderstood that, but that was probably just because we both flipped. It didn't. We completed it, but
yeah, which is fine.
And in retrospect, like if you did maybe 2 shots on each one, or really make each teammate hit the plate once and move their way forward, it would have been a tough stage, and I think you would have had a little bit more success rate than it did. It was doable. We did it. A number of teams did it, but like we didn't finish it by. I was the weak link there, but we didn't finish it by a whole lot. It wasn't like we smoked the thing and it was 22nd stage.
This stage was the most fun I think I had watching shooters all weekend, because it's just beep, and then all of a sudden, gun, like, you talk about blaster stages and doing this and doing that. Like it's literally just guys blowing ammo out of their pistols as fast as they can squeeze the trigger. And everybody was really worried about those distances. a lot of people didn't really start struggling until they got to the mid-range distances. After 50, the target shrank. It was full-size dip 6 until 50, and then at 40, it became a 2/3, and that's where people got hung up.
Well, I missed a lot at every distance, and I wasn't blazing. I was going, like, I was taking good shots, and I still burnt through, like, I bet I almost went through 40, 50 rounds of ammo on that one stage.
So
it was a gut check that early in a match.
So I want to just kind of make a comment. This is a general run and gun comment. Since I was a 10K, I didn't have to shoot this one, but I shot it for fun. And I went up there with I just threw 5 rounds in the pistol, and I missed 5 times at the 100-yard. And you could see where I was hitting around it. And I was like, all right, I got to load another mag. And I was up there with Ben Collins, and he's like, you're going to go 1 for 1 with the next mag. And sure enough, I walk back up there, ding, 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 shoot close, ding, ding, ding. Just the point of what I'm saying is we all have this sort of ability to do these targets. Like Tiger talked about it before the match even started, that he tested with half a dozen people. They were hittable targets. But when you get into a match, your ability to hit a target suddenly goes out the window, and then you come back to the same exact target and it's like nothing. And so this is like kind of a theme in run and gun. It's like, can you hit 1,000-yard target? Yeah. Maybe not right this minute, but maybe in 5 minutes, or maybe tomorrow, or, like this weird idea that you have this innate ability because you've practiced enough and you can hit that target. But in that moment when you really need to hit that target, are you going to connect today or tomorrow or not? So I thought that was an interesting thing, that my first mag shooting at it, couldn't touch it. Walk to the truck, come back with 5 more rounds, ding, 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 ding. Like, it's just a weird thing that happens, and we could talk about it on pretty much every stage. We have this ability. You talk to any run and gun shooter, like, oh yeah, I shoot groups all day that are 1-inch groups or 2-inch groups or whatever. You're good for every stage we shot. But in that moment, on that stage, where were you? You couldn't do anything. And so I thought that was interesting for me as, in a non-competitive sense, since that was a 15K stage, to go up there and find that out.
Well, and it's as simple as, was your grip just a little bit different than where your finger is placed on the trigger? It was like a weird... I mean, that's what I think I think it was Lanny Basham that said this. And if you've been in competitive shooting and, with winning in mind as a very popular sports psychology book, but he said something to the effect of, winners practice until they can't get it wrong. Like beginners practice till they get it right. Winners practice till they can't do it wrong. And that's kind of the thing, kind of what Mark's saying is like, yeah, on 50% of the time, maybe I could do the stage or 70% or 80, but like the people winning these are really doing well. They can do these stages 100% of the time because they've just got that practice. So, and this was a stage, if you were a little bit off, I mean, 180 seconds, that's a lot of pistol targets for a team to do in 180 seconds. So,
right. Now, the other thing to remember about this is stage 2, first pistol stage. People ate ammo. People went through pistol rounds like crazy, and this hurt them for the rest of the match.
I went through at least a 26-round mag and maybe most of a 20 after that. So, I mean, I easily went through close to 40 rounds for just my part of that stage.
I went through 6 15-round mags.
And like I said, it was not like blah, 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 accuracy by fire. Like I was trying to make every shot count within the time limit I had. You can't like slow pull and, take 10 seconds for every shot, but
it was the ultimate combination of precision blaster stage.
All right. So if you went on from there, you really didn't have too far to go then to probably everybody's second favorite stage, right? The next one was your plate rack stage.
Plate rack stage. Love
Now,
this stage.
This
Every year
has
is
been
great.
Every year there's a theme on this. He certainly outdid himself this year because the pistol plates were the same distance they always are, but a little bit smaller.
Just a little bit.
Just
1
a little,
inch.
but
1 inch less.
I'd pay a lot of money for 1 inch more, Tiger. I'm just saying.
So
on my height, on other things, like we're talking.
Yeah. So Roach actually complained enough, so I did the math. The pistol plates were 33 MOA plates.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I always tell people when they complain about, because your throoms, the smaller throoms for the rifle, people are like, oh, those throoms, it's like you're at 15 yards. You're saying it's like a 30, it's a 40 MOA, it's an 8 MOA, like it's huge. It's a huge target for
the distance.
What you're doing. You got to know. With the pistol, you don't need to know your height over bore necessarily. With the rifle on this stage, you absolutely needed to do. So people are like, what the hell are they talking about? So each teammate starts, you come up to you start at a line on the beep. One person starts by shooting the rifle plate rack. The other teammate starts shooting the pistol plate rack. 6 plates, right?
Yep.
So 6 plates, each of you has to go through completely clean without missing a target. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you do that, stage is over. Piece of cake. If either person misses, you switch. So now, like if I started on pistol, my teammates started on rifle because I had the big 6.5. We're like, well, I'm not blasting away. I whiffed my very first pistol shot. I mean, and then we had to switch. And if you did it again and you missed, you have to switch again. So both teammates had to shoot clean. Now, I whiffed the pistol, started shooting rifle, was doing better rifle. My partner, Tim, absolutely blasted through. I mean, just bing, 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 all the way, got all 6. And then the pressure's on me. Me and Tiger were talking about this. I've been doing this long enough. I don't really, not that I don't ever feel stressed about it, but I'm at the point I can focus on what I'm doing and not really compartmentalize it, not really worry about like what he did. There's not stress. I just need to hit each target and do what I need to do. So we ended up with a pretty decent score there because I went through and went 1 for 1. So it didn't take us that long. This ate a lot of lunches. There was a lot of DNFs on this stage.
Yeah. And it was on me. I'll admit it was on me because my wife hit all the pistol. We had several times where she didn't, but the time that she did, now it's on me. I did not hit all the rifle. And I still to this day, I am going to go to the range and put stickers on paper and prove to myself I can hit all of them.
It's going to be zeroed. It's going to be zeroed. It's going to hit right where you need because you don't need it to do it now.
Right. Now, I'd also like to believe that my rounds were just so fast and clean. They were zipping right through those throoms and they didn't even wiggle at all. That's probably what happened. That's realistically what was going on.
If they're the 4-inch ones, I would tell you that is definitely a possibility because the bigger ones are not good for a rifle at any distance. But those little tiny 2-inchers or whatever they are, like if you hit it at all, if you barely hit the strap, them things wiggle all over the place.
So if you look, because I brought all the targets home, the bottom, like if this is the throom, this is chewed off completely. There's very few hits that are dead center.
So we've talked about this before. Throoms. You got to know your height over bore. That's the biggest thing at these different distances. And if you think your height over bore at 7 yards is the same as 10 yards, is the same as 15 yards, like it's close enough. At these distances, we're talking pretty big jumps. So I like to know 7. I like to know 7 and 15, 25 or whatever. I can interpolate from there. In this case, I've gotten crap from people before about this. They think this is silly. This is called a pro tip, whatever. I dialed. We knew in the thing in your stage description before the match, it said what distances these were going to be at. I got into stray lock and I looked and it was whatever, 8 MOA or 8 mils or whatever. I think
calibers.
Yeah, I think it was 8 mils. And so before that stage started, click, dialed up to 8 mils. And you know what I did when it was my turn? I just held the center of it and hit, and then got steady and hit, and got steady and hit, and I went 1 for 1 on them. And I've had people, I'll dial, if I know I'm doing a lot of shooting and I can dial beforehand and it's all at 15 or 25 yards in a bay, I'll just dial to where I don't have to like think of my height over bore. I know it. I've done it before. I know where it's at in my reticle. So there's times where you do that because that's the fastest way to do it. But you know what's really fast? Just putting the dot in the center of a big circle and pulling the trigger. So
see, I practice it too. I practice it too in mine on a JM reticle on a 1-6 Vortex. The 300-yard hash was right on. And I don't know, it's got to be me. Obviously, I just wasn't steady enough or whatever. But I had the same thing where I knew holding that 300-yard was enough to pull up.
And like I said, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it except that 300 and maybe that 400 are pretty close together sometimes. And in the heat of the moment, did I put the 3 on there? Did I put the 4 on there? I mean, it's possible to do that. So my thing is, if I've got an ability to dial because I've got the time and it's not costing me anything, like all the targets are at 15 yards, I'm just going to dial for 15 yards because I can do that right now. Or I'll use the top dot. I bet a lot of people use top or side dots because if you're 0 to 25, you might be all right, or hold the top of the strap. But that's the other tip. If you don't know, make sure you're centered on it and aim kind of high, because even if you miss the circle and you were going to shoot over it, which is really hard to do, there's still a strap that's hanging there. As long as you're centered, you're going to hit the strap and the thing will move. So it's a thin strap, so make sure you're really well centered. But that does, I mean, I very rarely see people shoot over those things. Everyone's always shooting under. So there's some tips for you. We try to give you guys some tips because we talk to enough people that just hate those things because you got to put in a little work beforehand. That's the key. Okay. All right. So you head on. I'm trying to think what the third stage is. So I'll have to get Tiger to fill in on this.
It's a buddy drag.
Yes. Drag. Yep. So can you explain that one, Tiger? Or do you want me to pull up the stage description? Because it's been a little bit since.
I can't. So it was, you started behind a little it wasn't really a barricade. It was just a way to mark a spot. And there were, I think 6 plates out. You had to clear them, you and your partner. This is all pistol. Once you clear all of them, the RO was going to yell to shoot.
We're losing you again, Tiger. Now we're losing Ryan.
It was
Ryan's
the guy
muted.
on the left.
Oh, yeah, Tiger, we lost you again.
So I can call it 6 targets because we helped RO this one too, unless Tiger's coming back. So 6 targets, you could both shoot at them to clear all 6 targets, and then the RO automatically dropped the person to the left. That person was wounded because it was called healing spells. So the other teammate had to drag them behind another barricade. Once they were behind the barricade, the person that was dragging pulled out their pistol and shot 6 more. Is that correct, Tiger? Okay.
Yeah.
And then just that person that was injured has to remember that, because later on that comes into play on a different stage. That injured shooter has something else that they have to do later. So yeah, that was a fun stage. I mean, this is one of those, like, I don't want to say it was a give me. I imagine most people probably completed that stage. The only thing I could see, they randomly picked, or not randomly, but the person on the left being the person that is injured or whatever, like, if you had someone that was like a really big dude and his really small wife or girlfriend or something, the drag part may have been a challenge, but you could kick your legs.
I gave my RO discretion there. I said, pick the dude on the left unless it's clear that that's going to be impossible.
And you were allowed to kick your legs. It wasn't just dead weights. You were allowed to kick your legs. That helps a lot.
Yeah. So I would say most people could do it. But again, like that, and that's good thinking because, dude, if you got a 300-pound, like big 6'5" diesely dude, and he's got his 5'0" girlfriend, like even kicking legs, that's going to be a struggle bus.
Yeah. I mean, Melanie Trumbull is not going to pull John Drosser.
Oh no! I bet if anyone could, Melanie could.
Okay,
you need to take that. You need to take that back.
No.
Person.
Here's the key: she grabs him by the beard, and then he'll kick. He will kick the whole way. That's how you do it.
I can't think of anybody smaller than Melanie. So,
yeah, my wife is small. She could probably not pull John Drosser. Like she lifts. She's strong, but not that strong.
Yeah,
or right now,
or even me. Like
hopefully she doesn't hear this. I'm gonna get my butt kicked for doubting her. She probably could because she's stubborn, but John wouldn't like the outcome.
No.
Yeah. So moving on from there, you went through the woods a little bit.
Wait, now let's clear about that. It wasn't just woods through a little bit. This year was the hardest terrain in terms of some idiot with tape walked around the woods, up and down every little draw and crook and cranny, and twisted and turned.
His name was John Drosser.
Yes, thank you.
I love the course. I've said on all these shows with Run and Gun, I love running through the dense part of the woods, the brush, up and down, that's my favorite thing. My body clearly wasn't ready to lug a 6.5 Creedmoor and like a heavy 6.5 Creedmoor and a bunch of ammo because I was dying by my calves started cramping, like where you can't walk cramping. It was
1,100 feet of elevation change.
Yeah, for the 15K. But I loved every minute of it. My body just didn't love every minute of it. But
the other thing about Missouri, though, too, is that it's rocky ground and the leaves were down. And so you would be stepping on rocks all the time that you couldn't see. You couldn't spot your steps.
Ankle breaker. I got strong ankles. I twisted my ankle a couple times on it. Now, from trail running and what I do, I'm not like hurting myself. But, you tweak it and you're like, ugh. That's not fun.
Or even just the softness of your shoes. If you weren't wearing, a hard-soled shoe, your feet have to take up that shape. So another thing to think about there when you talk about, if we went back to all our gear things, like, well, you need boots, you need whatever. It's like just soles where you can feel the ground. You also feel a rock when it's underneath you.
Yeah. You know what? We usually go into what gear we used. We kind of forgot to do that. Just so people kind of know what was going on.
Two-parter.
What's that?
Two-parter.
Well, yeah, we may have to on this. But let's throw it out there for both teams. It doesn't have to be exhaustive. We've kind of mentioned it. I shot a 6.5 Creedmoor. I shot a gas gun, 20-inch barrel, my Thunder Beast can. And then I had a 4.5 to 27, like the Gen 2 Razor that I was borrowing for it. Mike Ford was nice enough to loan me. And then my Staccato, and then just random chest, my normal chest rig with the inserts for that and everything else, regular belt, hydration pack. And then my partner ran an M&P with a red dot and a 16-inch AR with the ACOG. So Tim Cox, if you've not shot with Tim Cox, he's a phenomenal rifleman. He can run an ACOG like nobody's business. Actually, when we were prepping for this, he was out with his K31 Swiss straight pool or whatever, like shooting targets at Thunder Valley at like 500 and 600 yards with iron sights. And he's like, oh man, this shoots so good. I should use this. I said, Tim, I would take you with that K31 over most other people with whatever juicy rifle they choose. He really can shoot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that was our. Yeah, that's what we shot. What did you guys use? Because I think it was a little bit different, Mark, right?
Yeah, so I used the same that we used last year. It's a 6.5 Creedmoor bolt action, 22-inch Ruger American Hunter with a 5-20 Razor Gen 1. And then my wife carried a 16-inch AR with a Razor Gen 2, 1-6. So pretty basic setup there. And we didn't actually run chest rigs this year. We ran belts and backpacks. Since we had teams, you can always dig in each other's backpacks while you're walking. So we figured that was just fine, and it worked fine.
That's smart. Yeah, that's smart. So did you guys were you both running pistol dots? Did you say that?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mention that. Both Glocks, both pistol dots.
Both 17s or 19 or
17 and a 19.
So yeah. Listen to this exotic gear.
Right.
It's for everyone that thinks we run dots. You don't need a dot. I would say, the long shots, dots don't hurt at all. But a lot of the shooting in this match, like you like iron sights are more than doable.
Right.
If you know what you're doing.
Yep.
Having said that, when
there
it
was
gets
one
long,
stage. No, well, the long for sure, you want the dot, but there's one stage we'll get to where having a dot definitely helped. And it wasn't because it was long. We'll talk about that when we get to the bathrooms.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's dots have an advantage, but don't think like, oh, I can't run a running gun because I have iron sights. Now, we've mentioned before, Mike Ford came in 4th overall at Heartbreak last year with iron-sighted pistol and iron-sighted rifle, like 4th overall, not of that division. So just whatever gear you have, go out and shoot the match with that, because that's
and these aren't race Glocks. These aren't race Glocks. They're stock Glocks with different disconnectors. That's it. I mean, and a dot. There's no comps. There's nothing like that. It's mostly a stock Glock on both of them. So you don't need special things.
All right. So moving on, was the next one the zombie stage? This is the one. This one could have been this could have been brought down just a little bit. So team match one. Let Tiger describe this, and then we'll talk about it, because this was my team's one DNF. This was a tough stage. So explain how it went.
Yeah, and if I break up, just jump in, whatever. So you moved into 2 tubes. One was a long black sewer pipe, and then there was a little contraption we found at the range and decided to use. It was a blue barrel turned on its side, and on a couple others, but the one partner had shoot order by color. I tied colored ribbons to all of the things, all the stands, and then the other partner had ranges for those colors. And the whole reason that I put you in the tubes was so that you couldn't see each other, but you had to communicate. You had to yell to communicate. Turns out a lot of people thought I put you in tubes to make the positions harder. I didn't. That was just a nice little bonus. And people running big breaks, screw those guys. They should civilize themselves and start running suppressors. And
communication was great with the can.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And also it helped, I'm not a huge brass hound, but I do love my brass. And I set the tubes up in such a way that I basically had 2 giant piles of brass at the end of the match. So furthest shot on this stage was 400 yards. There were 6 different sets. And the targets were zombies. And this stage had no shoots, which were shaped like army men. So there was some target ID built into the stage. And the zombies came out just a little bit smaller than I originally anticipated. Yeah, the wind call got real tough. They were 4 MOA vertically. They were like the furthest target was 16 inches tall. So it was 4 MOA target vertically. It was about 6 inches wide at its widest point, 6 or 8. So 1.5 to 2 MOA, and it was tough. This was a tough stage. I would have changed this to where you just walked out. Would have been the change. I wouldn't have necessarily moved any of the targets closer. I wouldn't have changed any of their positioning. I may have built bigger stands to spread them a little bit further apart, because if you missed a zombie here, the army man was here. Like if you missed a zombie by 8 inches, you were hitting an army guy on a lot of them. But my biggest change to this stage, looking back on it, would be I would have just started you at the 100-yard or the 80-yard, whatever was closest, and walked you out to the 400, or started you at the 400 and walked you back in. Like instead of having you bounce around and trying to find targets by color.
Yeah, so the first thing. So I love the target ID thing, and I do that in matches. I love the team aspect of it.
I know you're colorblind and screw off.
The colorblind, yeah, and honestly, I had to have them describe the landscape to get me there. Like I just couldn't see, because it was color coded by streamers. A little streamer at 304, even with a good scope, like I was really struggling to find what I was even supposed to shoot at. Even with a razor, if you don't know what you're supposed to be, like the difference between a zombie and an army man and the positions with their sizes, even with good, I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that a razor is not quality glass.
No.
And we had good light, and it was still hard to distinguish the two. It was just a lot of awesome, interesting ideas, but challenge upon challenge upon challenge. That, and at the end of the week, how many people completed that stage for the 10K and the 15?
I think 5 teams.
I thought there was only 3 or 4, but
there might have only been 4.
Out of how many teams?
60.
That's a pretty substantial failure.
Yeah. So on RO day, and we're gonna talk about this too on a couple of stages coming up. The wind on RO day was awful. And I legitimately think that if my ROs had a chance to shoot on competitor day, my DNF rates would have been much lower.
Maybe a little bit, because for people that don't know, a lot of the people that RO these matches tend to be some of the higher placers at these matches. Right,
yeah.
So like if you're dedicated enough to RO, you're probably putting in the practice. Not all the time, but like you'll notice that.
I RO and I suck. But
but me too. But
I will say that Dustin Jones RO'd this stage for me. And a lot of people may not know Dustin. He is a redneck of the finest quality, in that he can curse with the best of them. And he told me at the end of Saturday, he said, I've never heard so much poison spewed at one man in such creative ways as I did today. He said it was truly a masterpiece of vulgarity that was coming out of these tubes. So
it was, like I said, there's a lot of neat challenges, but it was a very, very tough
I think if I removed any single aspect of it, if I'd made the targets a little bit bigger, or like I said, walked them out instead of having you bounce around, or taking the tubes away, let you lay prone and see each other, any one challenge taken out of the stage, and it's a totally different thing.
100%. Like just a little bit bigger targets. Like I said, if you did a little bit bigger and walked them out, it would have still been a fun, challenging stage. You would have had the communication.
Yeah.
But it would have been. But you don't know that until you set it up and you shoot and you have some people go, and that's part of our, that's part of designing stages. But this, to my mind, this was the toughest stage in the whole match.
See, now, I'll go farther. I will say this stage was impossible. And for me, I shot on RO day. It was impossible
for me.
And it was, like you guys said, it was all the things together that made it impossible. Because I was prone in the tube, bipod down. I knew the ranges. I could dial to the ranges. And identifying the targets.
Did you feel that the tube made it a lot harder?
Which part?
Did you feel that the tube made it a lot harder?
I didn't mind the tube. What I thought was harder,
it took a while for me to get in because there's big holes cut in the bottom, which didn't help.
Right.
And I was worried about dropping gear and stuff like that through them. I wouldn't say it made it a lot harder, but like if you just had a barricade there.
Right. So that was one thing.
Yeah.
2, identifying which was a zombie, which was an army man. Now there was a cheat to this that I didn't know, and other people, as matches go, there's always people that get this secret info. There were army men that were saluting. There was army men that were holding guns, and there was army men doing something else. But that wasn't the key. The key was army men have a base on their feet. And I didn't know that. So I crushed an army man. I knocked him off the stand. And, in retrospect now, for how little the penalty was for shooting army men, I should have shot every single target and just worked my way through. Because we were arguing, like, Kayla was looking at it. She's like, are you going to shoot 1, 3, and 4? It's like 1, 3, and 4. No, I got to shoot the second guy too. She's like, no, shoot so we're going back and forth discussing what to even shoot. And we shot the first round, then we moved farther. Like the range part, the communication part was fine, but there was a lot of communication. Like, do you shoot that guy? Shoot the guy to the left? Like, I shot at least one army man fully off the stand. And then when we got out there, is like, I'm shooting and I'm getting hits and they're like not calling it. And it's clearly because I was shooting army men, not zombies. It's like, I should have just ran through. And this also was the wind, because we were all left to right wind on very skinny targets. Because I picked up some of the skinny ones as prizes. You could put a clay pigeon on them and the clay pigeon is wider than their bodies. And so those were the skinny ones, the closer ones.
Yeah.
And then, so the wind, figuring out which was which, getting the right pattern of in and out, all those together, I was like, this is impossible. In my opinion.
One team did it on our day.
They didn't what?
One team did it on RO day.
Yeah, exactly. So out of 20 or so that went through it.
Yeah.
So again, 95% kind of thing.
Yeah, I ran the long range stage on RO day because of how late in the day the RO shot. My team actually didn't shoot on RO day. We shot Saturday on competitors day, which ended up being a blessing because the wind was a lot more calm. I take whatever day I get, but I mean, in some ways, I'm definitely thankful that it was Saturday. I was tired, and I didn't drink any Friday or Thursday night because I'm like, we got to run Friday, and I can't let Tim down. And then Saturday comes along, and Friday night comes along, and it's like, well, crap, I got to run tomorrow. So, and then I had to not drink. I drank a little bit, but I couldn't drink quite as much as I was planning on, because after you RO and you've shot the day that night, the next day when the competitors come, as long as you're conscious and you're like sober enough to call hits, like they get what they get,
That's right.
So what I'm saying, in my opinion, it was impossible, but that was from my perspective. And it was obviously not impossible because people did it. But like Tiger said, and like Ryan said, it was stacking difficulty. It was every little thing.
A lot to do in 180 seconds or however long it was.
Right. Yeah. And so even small things like I was running a bolt gun versus a gasser. If I could have just been laying rounds out versus shoot rack, get on target, shoot, rack. You know, if I could have just been running them down and then, like I said, just shoot all of them and let God be the judge on those ones, like, you're going to be a zombie eventually. You know, we're just saving you the trouble here at this point.
Shoot them all and let God figure it out. Let God sort it out. Yeah. Nice. So here's a question. We're coming on an hour. Do we want to stop here and then we'll start right back up? I'll do a new quick intro and then we'll do the second half of this.
Because I'm ready for a break. Yep. Let's do a break.
Okay. All right. Let me so everyone watching, because I don't do any editing and stuff. I don't yet. Thank you for watching this. We will have a part 2 with the rest of this. Hopefully this is interesting to you. There's some really cool stages still ahead that we want to talk about. So definitely check out the next episode of this. But until then, we'll see you later.